Guys, please confirm to me. All of you get my voice on the screen. Those who are attending in online. Guys, please check it. All of you get my voice on screen. Yeah. Right. Good morning. Good morning, guys. Good morning to all. What we completed, guys, in the last sessions, no? I think so. We are discussing about differences between Java and others. Only this point we are discussing. Yeah. I think so. What are the various differences here we are getting there? We completed overall. C and C++ are static programming languages, but Java is a dynamic programming language. Preprocessor is required in C and C++, but preprocessor is not required in Java. Right, sir. C and C++ are platform-dependent programming languages, but Java is a platform-independent programming language. Right, sir. Pointers are exist in C and C++, but pointers are not existed in Java. Multiple inheritance is not existed in Java. Multiple inheritance is not exist in Java. Then after that, operator overloading is not possible in Java. Few points can be understood regarding this operator overloading. And yeah, up to these points only here we understood, guys. Right? Right, sir. The remaining object-oriented features, I think so. Like the polymorphism, I explained, and inheritance, I explained a little bit. But anyway, then in object orientation, we will cover all these points. Just like give a list of these points. No, what is class and how to declare classes? What is object? What is encapsulation? And what is abstraction? And what is polymorphism and inheritance? Once again, these concepts we will discuss there in object orientation, not immediately. But as of now, the points, the differences between Java and others, as part of that only, I given somewhat information about multiple inheritance and operator overloading. As part of that, we are discussing that. So remaining encapsulation and abstraction, all these concepts, I'll explain there in object orientation. And I'm going to start object orientation. Officially, we are going to discuss these concepts. Why? Because at present, you may not understand all these points, even though if I explain that. Why? Because we are not up to the mark in core level. So let me complete this point here. That object-oriented features, I'll discuss there in object orientation. Once again, there I will explain about encapsulation. Yes, sir. Understand it, what I'm telling to you. Right? No response. Right. Now, then difference number 7th one. Destructors are required in C++, but destructors are not required in Java. Destructors are required in C++, but destructors are not required in Java. Right, yes. I'm asking one question to all of you, try to answer for it. First of all, tell me, what is destructor actually? What is destructor, guys? What is this? What is destructor? What is the meaning of destructor? What is the requirement of it? Right. I'll give some clarity. Now try to understand it. So before going to understand whether destructor is required or not required in C, C++, and Java, before that, first of all, what is the purpose of destructor? We have to understand it. Little bit awareness is required. Guys, now tell me, in object-oriented programming languages, data will be represented in the form of objects only. Am I right? Yes, sir. Am I right or not? Please say yes, sir. In object-oriented programming languages, data will be represented in the form of objects only. Good. To represent objects, yes, to represent objects, to represent data in the form of, to represent data in the form of objects, first we have to create objects. Then we have to represent the data in the form of objects. First we have to create objects, then we have to represent data in the form of objects. At least at the end of the program, we have to destroy objects. So anyway, majorly in object-oriented programming languages, two operations are very much frequent. Two operations are very much frequent at the end of the, at least in the object-oriented programming languages. In object-oriented programming languages, two operations are very much frequent. What are the two operations? No, first one is creating objects. Creating objects is one thing, and second one is destroying objects. First one is creating objects, and second one is what? Destroying objects. Right, sir. How we are going to create objects? No, to create objects, object-oriented programming languages have provided a separate feature. To create objects, a separate feature was provided by object-oriented programming languages. That feature is like what? No, constructor. So constructor is a feature. You can understand it clearly now. So here itself, I will write that information. You can try to understand it now. Object orientation, an object-oriented programming languages, to create objects, we will use constructor. We will use constructor feature. Object-oriented programming languages, to create objects, we will use constructors. That is one of the features. Right, sir. But in Java, how to use constructors? It's a big story. I'll discuss with you in object orientation, but as of now, understand it. Constructor is a feature. By using that constructor, we are going to create objects. Right. So similarly, in object-oriented programming languages, to destroy objects, we will use destructors feature. What is that feature? They know destructors. In object-oriented programming languages, to destroy objects, we will use destructors. Destructors feature here we are able to use. Right, sir. Constructors, and second one is what? No, destructors. Constructors are used or helped to create objects. Destructors are used to destroy objects. The other 2 points here we have to understand. Alright, guys. Now, all of you observe one small point here. What is the point here I'm telling you? In case of Java, all of you observe carefully. In case of Java, in case of Java, to destroy objects, Java has provided an internal component, inside JVM, called as garbage collector. It will destroy objects automatically. When objects automatically, that's it. It will destroy objects automatically. But how it will destroy, when it will destroy, we will think later on. But as of now, we can understand developers are not going to destroy the objects. Only garbage collector will destroy the objects. I'm giving clarity. To destroy the objects, Java has provided an internal component inside JVM called as garbage collector. It will destroy objects automatically. It will destroy objects automatically, where developers are not required to destroy objects. Yeah, just like recycle bin. Yeah, just outside resources might be, then explicit resources we are going to remove that through recycle bin. That's okay, fine, but it's not like it. For garbage collector is available, is a thread or is a component inside the JVM. It can be used to destroy the objects. That memory block, object in the sense memory block. That memory block is going to be freed. Right, sir. Where developers are not required to destroy objects. So due to this, developers are not required to objects so that when developers are not required to destroy these objects, so garbage, that is inspectors of feature is not existed in Java. Right, guys. Now all these points are linked points. Try to understand it clearly. In case of Java, to destroy object, Java has provided an internal component inside JVM called as garbage collector. It will destroy objects automatically, where developers are not required to destroy objects. So that destructors feature is not existed in Java. Simply speaking, is not required. It's not required or not existed in Java. The point is very clear. Garbage collector will take care about the object destruction. But in case of C++, what happened? In case of C++, to destroy objects, we must use to destroy objects, or to destroy objects, C++ has not provided any internal components like garbage collector. C++ has not provided any internal component like garbage collector, where developers must destroy objects explicitly, so that destructors feature is required in C++. Destructors feature is required in C++. Right, sir. So new keyword is having the functionality of object creation, but as part of object creation process, constructor will be used. Yeah, we can say that new keyword has a functionality. That means new keyword has the functionality of creating object. As part of that functionality, new keyword will access constructor. So by the help of this constructor, we are able to create objects. That's the point. Keep them up. Understand it, what I'm telling you. Actually, the total object creation process, is embedded with new keyword. But as part of this object creation process, new keyword will access constructor. With the help of this constructor only, object will be created. Yeah, definitely. New keyword is required, but constructor is also required. Without having constructor, we are unable to create objects. So definitely, new keyword and constructor both be required to create objects. Understand it? No response. Thank you. So right, guys, now this is the total scenario. We can understand it clearly. In case of Java, garbage collector is available, so developers are not required to destroy the objects explicitly. Destructors are not required. In case of C++, garbage collector kind of component is not available, so definitely developers must destroy the objects explicitly. So destructors feature is required in the C++. So now tell me, guys, whose memory management is good, C++ or Java? Whose memory management is good, C++ or Java? Java or C++, whose memory management is good? At least by seeing this point, we can understand it clearly. So half of the work is reduced for Java developers, but 100% of the work must be done by C++ developer. Why? Because in the case of Java, developers are responsible for creating objects, not for destroying objects. But in the case of C++, developers are responsible for creating objects and as well as for destroying that objects. So Java memory management is good. Java is providing good environment for the developers to prepare the applications. That's okay. This is one of the points we have to understand. Right. Sir. The next point is like what I'm telling you, eighth one. Eighth one is also a very, very simple point. Simple point. Now try to understand it clearly. What about this? Eighth one here. C and C++ are following call by value and call by reference parameter passing mechanisms. C and C++ are following call by value and call by reference parameter passing mechanisms, but Java is following call by value parameter passing mechanism only. Right, sir. So here I'm telling to you clearly before going to understand call by value, call by reference, whether they're followed or not followed in C, C++, Java. Before all these, first you have to understand what is call by value, what is call by reference. Right, so just simple definitions only sufficient. No, not required to think much about it. If you want to understand call by value and call by reference more internally, lot of technical stuff is required, but not required. Just in the simplified definitions point of view, I'll provide to you. Now try to recognize this. Right, so now the point is very clear. In all the programming languages, guys, in all programming languages, it may be C, C++, Java, whatever it may be. In all programming languages, we pass primitive data. Primitive data is what, guys? Now tell me, what is this primitive data? Any idea? Byte, comma, short, comma, long, comma, float, comma, double, comma, char, comma, boolean. All these are primitive data types actually. If you pass in all programming languages, if you pass primitive data, that is byte, short, int, long, float, double, char, boolean, primitive data as a parameters, right? Primitive data as a parameters to the methods or functions. Methods are sufficient. In Java, we have methods only, not functions concepts. No. So as a parameters to the methods, then the parameter passing mechanism will be, call by value. That's it. Wherever we are passing primitive data as a parameter to the methods, like byte, short, int, long, float, double, boolean, char. These are primitive data. If you pass this data as parameter to the methods, then the parameter passing mechanism would be call by value. Parameter passing mechanism would be call by value. Right, so similarly, again another point, no. In all the programming languages, if we pass address locations as parameter to the methods, address locations. If we pass in any programming language, if we pass address locations as parameters to the methods, then the parameter passing mechanism will be called by reference. Parameter passing mechanism will be called by reference. In all the programming languages, if you pass address locations as parameters to the methods, then the parameter passing mechanism will be called by reference, not called by value. So we don't have any problem with the call by value. All programming languages are supporting, but only the problem with the call by reference. Alright, sir. It is available in C, C++, but it is not available in the case of Java. Observe carefully. In C and C++ applications, in C and C++, we pass pointer variables. Guys, now tell me. Pointer variables are able to store which data? Tell me. In C and C++, if you pass pointer variables as a parameter to the methods, come on here. Pointer variables are able to store which data? Already we discussed it there regarding these pointers. If you pass pointer variables as parameters to the methods, then the parameter passing mechanism will be called by reference only. And the parameter passing mechanism is called by reference. Why? Because we know already pointer variables are able to store what they're able to store, sir. Now tell me now. Pointer variables are able to store address locations of the data. Address locations of the data. Not object. Address locations of the data. Pointer variables are able to store address locations of the data, not object. Object is not available in C, C++, or whatever it may be. Address locations of the data. So because of that reason, in C and C++, call by reference is available. If you pass pointer variables as parameters and methods, then the parameter passing mechanism will be call by reference. Why? Because pointer variables are able to store address locations of the data. Passing pointer variables to the methods, in a sense, passing address locations only. So it is called by reference. Right. So in the case of Java, I'm asking this. In the case of Java, if we pass reference variables as a parameter to the methods, guys, tell me what is this reference variable? In Java, if we pass reference variables as parameters to the methods, guys, tell me what is this reference variable? Reference variables are able to store what? Reference variables are able to store what? Reference value. So if you pass reference variables as parameters to the methods, then the parameter passing mechanism will be called by value only. Why? Because what is the reason for it? Why? Because in Java, reference variables are able to store object reference value, where object reference value is hexadecimal form of hash code. The hash code is an unique identity. The hash code is an unique identity provided by a manager in the form of an integer value. Right. So now these are the things here we have to understand clearly. In Java, if you pass reference variables as parameters to the methods, then the parameter passing mechanism will be called by value. Why? Because in Java, reference variables are able to store object reference values, where object reference value is the hexadecimal form of hash code, where hash code is an unique identity provided by heap manager in the form of an integer value. So this is what exactly the meaning of like what now? Like call by value parameter passing mechanism. Right, sir. All of you observe carefully what I'm telling you. These are like what I'm telling all this content here. So call by value, call by reference. This is one of the difference here we can identify. So last difference, guys. Then as part of our content, last difference between Java and others, the last difference would be, what is this last difference actually? Understand now? All of you guys observe this clearly. Hash code, already explained, Saptak Kumar. Haven't understand this hash code value really? Satyakumar Mahapadra, please recognize this diagram. I think I explained this diagram to you, right? Now check this. Whenever we execute this one, a small a is equal to new keyword and constructor, when we call this one, automatically Java will submit request to the heap manager about to create an object. When object is created here, automatically heap manager will create an unique identity in the form of an integer value. That integer value is called as what? Hash code. When hash code is created, the hash code value is given to the JVM. JVM is converting the hash code to hexadecimal form. Hexadecimal form of hash code, that is called as reference value. The reference value will be assigned to a variable. That variable is called as what? A reference variable. Yes, understand this. What is this hash code now? Yeah. Right, sir. So next one is like what next one here? Another point no. Right, sir. In C and C++, integers will take 2 bytes of memory and characters will take 1 byte of memory. But in Java, integers will take 4 bytes of memory and characters will take 2 bytes of memory. This is the point here we are able to get. In C and C++, integers will take 2 bytes of memory and characters will take 1 byte of memory. But in Java, integers will take 4 bytes of memory and characters will take 2 bytes of memory. This is what exactly the difference is. But actually, the point is what? What is the point here I'm telling to you? Memory allocation for a primitive data types, guys. Memory allocation for primitive data types. Memory allocation for primitive data types. Primitive data types. Memory allocation for primitive data types is not fixed. Memory allocation in C and C++, especially I'm telling you. In C and C++, memory allocation for primitive data types is not fixed. It is variable and it is depending on the data type. Sorry, it is depending on the processor. But but in case of Java, but in case of Java, In case of Java, memory allocation for primitive data types is a fixed. It is not variable. Memory allocation for primitive data types is fixed. It is not variable, irrespective of the processor. Sorry, guys. And in place of saying this processor, I want to say operating system. That will be good. Operating system which we use. But in case of Java, memory allocation for primitive data is fixed. It is not variable, irrespective of the operating system which we use. Right. I'll use some memory quotations for my data types in the case of Java. Just observe this clearly: byte, large, int, long, float, double, cat, boolean. We can observe this clearly. Byte in the sense how much memory is required for bytes. No, 1 byte of memory. For a short, 2 bytes of memory is required. For int, 4 bytes of memory. For long, it's 8 bytes of memory. Again, float, 4 bytes of memory. For double, 8 bytes of memory. It is fixed. For character, 2 bytes of memory. Right, sir. For boolean, 1 bit internally. So this is like what I'm telling you guys, memory allocation. You can use any type of operating system, that doesn't matter. For all the data types, primitive data types, these are fixed memory allocations. Sheila ma'am, now understand it now. Byte 1 byte, short is 2 bytes, integer 4 bytes, long 8 bytes, float again 4 bytes, not 16 bytes. Right, and double 8 bytes only, character 2 bytes only, boolean 1 byte. Yes. So these are exactly like what I'm telling you. Memory allocations for primitive data types, they are fixed. Okay, fine. Right. 1 byte is equal to 8 bits. 1 byte is equal to 8 bits. But now we are providing all this data in the form of bytes only, not in the form of bits, bytes only. Okay, good. Then immediately we have a question, guys. I have a question now. What about my question here? My question would be, listen carefully, my question would be, in a C and C++, 1 byte of memory is sufficient for characters. 1 byte of memory is sufficient for characters. Then what is the requirement? Then what is the requirement? In the C and C++, 1 byte of memory is sufficient for characters. Then what is the requirement? What is the requirement? Then what is the requirement for Java? What is the requirement for Java? To assign 2 bytes of memory for characters. This is a question. What is the requirement for Java to assign 2 bytes of memory for characters? Answer for that question would be very clear, guys. Now try to understand it. What would be the answer? No. In C and C++, 1 byte of memory is sufficient for characters. Then what is the requirement for Java to assign 2 bytes of memory for characters? Answer will be very clear. Now try to recognize this answer here. In a C and C++, in a C and C++, all characters are represented in the form of ASCII value, in the form of ASCII values. To store any ASCII value, to store any ASCII value, 1 byte of memory is sufficient. Guys, observe this clear. In case of C and C++, all characters are represented in the form of ASCII values. To store ASCII values, 1 byte of memory is sufficient. Good. In case of Java, I'm telling you, in case of Java, all characters are represented in the form of Unicode values. That's it. To store Unicode values, 2 bytes of memory is required. 2 bytes of memory is required. So because of this reason only, Java must assign 2 bytes of memory for characters, and in C and C++, 1 byte of memory is sufficient for characters. This is one of the question, and here we are getting some point. Now immediately we are getting one more question. What about this question? Now, what is Unicode and what is the purpose of Unicode? What is Unicode and what is the purpose of Unicode? This is another question, guys. So here we have to understand this Unicode information. What is Unicode and what is the purpose of Unicode? If you observe this clearly, Unicode is one of the character representation. Unicode is one of the character representation. Is one of the character representation. Unicode is one of the character representation. It is able to represent all the alphabet from all the natural languages. It is able to represent all the alphabet from all the natural languages like Hindi, English, Italian, and local languages also, of course, Kannada, Marathi, Telugu, and so on. All. So Unicode is one of the character representation. It is able to represent all the alphabet from all the natural languages like Hindi, English, Italian, and so on. This is the meaning of like what no Unicode representation. Then what is the advantage of it? Okay, fine. We are able to represent all the alphabet in now from the natural language. That's okay, fine. Then what is the advantage of it? What it able to do? Then it will provide very good internationalization support. It will provide very good internationalization support. It will provide very good internationalization support. Again, there is a question. What is internationalization? What is the meaning of internationalization? This point also here we have to understand. Nothing are very clear. Preparing Java applications with respect to the locality. Preparing Java applications with respect to locality or with respect to the local conventions. Local conventions is called as internationalization. Say for example, Google product is available. Google is giving some hyperlinks to you. If you click on English, we are able to get that Google page in English. If you click on Hindi, the total Google page we are able to get in Hindi. And if we click on Kannada, enter Google page will come in Kannada. And if we click on like Marathi, the total Google page will be available in Marathi. So what is this like now? Then at each and every corner, Google wants to provide some services. So from which country you are, from which language you are, in the same local language, in the same local conventions, we can utilize this Google. So that support was provided by Google. Understand, guys? No, Satyakumar. Then Java program we have to write in the form of English only. That means that Java syntaxes are provided in English only. But what internationalization and what Unicode support is giving for us now, we can enter our input data in the form of your local, and we can get an output in the form of local. But when we enter input data in the form of your local language, Java program has to recognize your characters in our local language. So for that purpose, Unicodes are required. Understand it? So for that purpose, Unicode representations are required. For example, for is available. For like expression or something is available. Now get syntax is available. Like what I'm telling there, int I is equal to 0, semicolon I less than 10, and I plus plus. This is an instruction set. If it is available, we can understand it clearly. So this for is in English only. This int, int, it must be written in English. Why? Because they are in fixed syntax. They are as per the syntaxes now. But here, what is Unicode now? Here we are not going to utilize any Unicode. What we are going to see there, for example, if I provide some input data I want to provide, say for example, my name, Nag I want to provide. So I can provide this Nag in English, or maybe in my Hindi also I want to provide it. When I provide this Hindi, the data in Hindi, our program has to recognize that Hindi letters. So their Unicode representations will come. Okay. Right, sir. This is about like what now Unicode representations. So Unicode representations are available inside the Java. To store any Unicode value we required, like how much memory here now, 2 bytes of memory is required. Because of this reason only, Java is providing 2 bytes of memory for Unicode data. Right, sir, for characters data. Okay, so now these are the various things here we are getting there, and it's okay, guys. And then next content would be Java features. Java features. The topic here we have to discuss the next one. Guys, and I'm requesting to you. Yeah. Then I was good now. The previous day were tested positive, and then I went to the quarantine. Now I'm in out of quarantine. Now it's okay, fine. Tested negative again. So the next 15 days of time, maybe 2 weeks of time, then heavy body pains and maybe energy levels maybe good, may not be good. But what I'm telling here, maybe in any day, if I'm not feeling good, then I may cancel the classes. No, otherwise maximum I'm able to take the classes. Next 15 days of time, in any day, if I'm not good, if I'm not feeling good, maybe I may put holiday on that particular day. Yes, I'm giving that intimation there. So why I'm taking these many holidays? No, because of this reason only. So then what I'm telling you, just cooperate with me. But up to 15 days of time, some up and downs are going on. Then once 15 days are completed, then we are going to be, I'm going to speed up your classes there. Right? Don't worry for it. I will plan for classes somewhat extra sessions once if I start object orientation, not immediately. No, I have not taken classes yesterday, up to yesterday. Now again, after long time, taking class today only, guys. Yeah. Today morning onwards, I'm taking the classes. No, feeling comfortable, no problem. But maybe energy levels are not constant. No, maybe up and downs are going on. In the future, in any day, if I'm not feeling well, if energy levels are not sufficient, I will give you an intimation to you know. Okay. But please cooperate with me. Up to 15 days, this kind of scenario is going on. Then after that, I'll speed up your classes. Don't worry for it. Okay. Yeah, I will share. I will share notes. No need to worry for this, guys. So can I take these Java features on tomorrow, guys? Process of binding data and coding part. Binding data and coding part. That is called as an encapsulation. Okay. And for example, if you take method, insert this method in set of intersections we are going to write, and data also we are going to be provided through the variables. So by using variables, we are going to form some intersections where data and coding part both we are able to be combined. That combination is called as like what, no, encapsulation. Satyakumar. So this is information. There's a number of examples are available. I'll discuss with you more clearly. Don't worry for it. Best example is Java beans. Java beans, if we take, no, your best example we are able to get private variables and public methods. We are going to take inside these public methods. Private variables are going to be operated. Data is going to be passed through public methods only. So where we are able to achieve this encapsulation. That's the best example for achieving encapsulation. That's it. Yeah, tomorrow we have session, guys. Max, I will take it. But if I'm not going to take the class, maybe you may get intimation within 10 to 15 minutes of time, maybe. On time. I will check my status exactly before the class. No, if I feel comfortable, then I will continue the class. Definitely, I will take session tomorrow, guys. Don't worry for it. Yeah. I will check the Google Classroom and I will share these notes also through Google Classroom. Don't worry for this. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thanks a lot. I'll meet on tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll conduct these classes. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you, Sheila, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Bharti. Thank you.